Let me say this. In God's order of things, complexity leads to simplicity. But when we approach simplicity from an intellectual point of view, then simplicity leads to complexity. So there are a lot of things that you can accept and believe, and understand, even though you can't intellectually explain them. Keep in mind, everything that we're doing, everything that we need to know about faith, about how to live, starts with believing and understanding how God created the world, and then understand that we're created in His likeness and image, so we function exactly as He functioned. Now, God exists outside of time and space. I think some of the confusion that we have when we talk about the word heaven is that it's a lot more complex of a concept than we think, and where God dwells in the heavens is beyond time and space. He is outside of this realm, and the word heaven is kind of a metaphoric type word, because even we think about going to heaven when we die, but we're not going to be out there somewhere. We're going to be here on planet Earth. Right. So heaven is more about a realm and about what the resources in that realm. And there was a void before there was anything in this realm. And so when God created the universe, Hebrews 11:3 gives us an interesting insight to this, because he says, by faith, we understand that the worlds were framed by the word of God, so that the things which are seen were not made of things which were visible. Now, we have this, our idea of that verse is God created the worlds from nothing.
Yeah.
It's not what it says. It says He created the world. Now, what are the worlds? The matter. In other words, everything that has to do with matter, everything that exists in this realm, there was something that preceded bringing matter into being. Now, the probability is this. See, you can't have matter without polarity. This is really important, because I'm telling you, this will get into how you operate faith. This will get into how you think. It will get into how you meditate. When I'm trying to speak a miracle into existence, I don't have any concept of trying to make something out of nothing. I just have a concept of rearranging what exists. So in other words, it gets more probable, more possible, because I'm not trying to make something out of nothing. Now, in order for there to be matter, there has to be polarity. And here's the way I kind of would understand this, or sort of understand it. If you take a magnet, and this magnet, let's say, and so you got the north pole of a magnet. Well, keep in mind, first of all, this is why everything has to have two sides. In a world that exists with matter, there has to be a north and a south pole. Right. There can't be just a north. In other words, you can't flip a coin and say, well, it's going to be heads every time, because there's not a tail. There's not another side to it, But let's say you got the north pole of a magnet, and let's say that represents an atom. And I'm not saying this is perfect science. I'm just kind of get this in a concept that we can grasp. Well, if there was nothing but north pole or atoms with a charge of a north pole, then nothing would ever come together and have shape. So what you would have is you would just have random atoms that never came together to become matter, to create an earth, to create a human body, to create a tree, or create a star, or anything like that. So in order to have matter, you got to have a north and a south pole. Because when you put a north and a south pole of a magnet here, then they go, and they come together. Mm-hmm. So in order for there to be matter, all of these different charged and I'm using the word atoms. I know a lot of people out there that are very scientific, so that's not exactly how it works. I understand that. I'm trying to just put this in language that makes sense. So suddenly now, you have matter, because as these different polarities attract to each other, they eventually become something we would perceive as being solid, as being matter. So everything that exists because there was a north and south pole. There was polarity before there was matter. Now, when God operated faith, it's really simple. I mean, there's a lot of really unique ways you can explain it, but it's really simple. It's first, for the Hebrew language, he conceived something in his heart. Now, to conceive something in his heart, this is where you get in this concept of seeing the end before the beginning. In other words, he knew exactly what he wanted to bring about before he ever spoke. As I've said so many times in the Hebrew language, and it says, God said, let there be. The emphasis in that word is not that he spoke it. The emphasis of that word is that he conceived it first. So God conceived this. He saw the end from the beginning. But that word also indicates that when he did speak, he spoke with intention. Now, what was his intention? His intention was that the words that he spoke would come to pass and be in harmony with what he saw in his heart. One of the things that I teach people is this: one of your core beliefs has to be, if you want to be a person of faith, you have to be immovable about this. What I say with intention always comes to pass. And until you're immovable about that, then man, you're just going to be hit and miss, on and off, trying and failing, and when you succeed, you're not going to know why. When he spoke something, and in the English it says, and God saw that it was good. That word good, anytime you see that word good, it has the concept of harmony. So it was in harmony with what he conceived in his heart. It was in harmony with his intention. So in the beginning, everything that existed before the fall of man, everything that existed was in harmony with God. Let me just say this, because again, people just do not believe that we have authority over planet Earth. Planet Earth violated harmony with God when man believed something else and acted on it. And then the entire earth went out of harmony with God. It always was in harmony with man's heart. Once man was created and God gave him authority, earth could only become what man conceived in his own heart. That's it. So now, in the book of Hebrews, I know the scripture is correct. In the book of Hebrews, it says, now faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. Now that word substance, man, that is a really unique word, because it can get into a title deed. In other words, it is the proof of ownership. In other words, if you can conceive it in your heart, then believe that what you say with intention comes fast, then you already own it. Whether you see it or not, whether it's happened or not, you already own it. You got the proof of ownership. You're not even going to keep trying to make it happen. These people keep running around and I'm not criticizing, but they have to keep confessing. That person is attempting to persuade their heart. They're not fully persuaded. And there's nothing wrong with that as long as you know the difference. So faith is the proof of ownership. But that word faith also gets in this concept of laying a foundation for something. Everything that God wanted to create, you could say the potential, you could say the raw material. Now keep in mind, energy, it can be a light or it can be matter. Either one. It can exist either way. So in the form of light, everything that existed, that the earth was going to be made out of, that man was going to be made out of, that trees were going to be made out of, that planets were going to be, it all existed, but it didn't exist in what we understand as matter. It existed in the form of light. So When God created a foundation, that foundation, which was what he conceived in his heart, that foundation provided the substructure, which that word, now if I did the substance, that word substance can mean substructure. It created a substructure around which the raw material could come together and become the matter, the physical thing that he conceived in his heart. It wasn't something from nothing. It was something from something that was invisible. That's what Hebrews 11:3 says. It didn't say it was God framed the world. That word frame gets into shaping and organizing. He shaped planet Earth. He shaped the universe. He shaped the stars. He shaped the solar systems, so that whenever he laid this shape, this blueprint out there, suddenly everything started organizing around this blueprint, around this substructure, around this foundation that he spoke. In every situation, in everything that exists, there is polarity, and if there's polarity, there is a paradox. Because nothing can exist without polarity, and that which exists cannot be understood apart from the paradox. Now, this gets down into every single aspect of life and faith and all things that exist. So stop and think about it. Let's say, man, you got all excited about something. You're thinking, you know what? Here's what we need to do. We need to start feeding the poor. All right. Is that a good thing or a bad thing? Can be a good thing. Can be a bad thing. Now, remember, until the heart is involved, nothing becomes good and evil within itself until the motive of the heart is involved. This is really important to understand. You have no desire that is inherently evil. You make your desires evil when the motive of the heart comes into it, and whether or not you're going to depart from God's wisdom and God's righteousness and God's word in order to fulfill that desire. But there is no desire that's evil within itself until the motive of the heart comes in. So, man, I got this great idea. We're going to feed the poor. Okay. Now, righteousness and the heart, and really love and righteousness are just inseparable, because love is how we should be. It should be our motive. And the word righteousness in its most basic form means as it should be. So we start this program to feed the poor. And man, we're helping people. But then all of a sudden, people start showing up that just realize they can get a free meal. Mm-hmm. And then you're sort of like, well, but they're poor, so we want to help them. Well, wait a minute. But the Word of God says, if they won't work, they won't eat. And you start looking at all of these principles of righteousness that are not there to prohibit or restrict anybody. They're there to protect them from getting a corrupt heart, from getting into greed, from getting into laziness, from getting into dishonesty. And so now you say, okay, so what we got to do is we got to have more controls. So we got to put some people in charge of managing money, buying everything. Okay, so suddenly now you got the people who's got the money in control of the lives of the people that you would start out just wanting to feed. Mm-hmm. So you got people controlling people and putting conditions on this. But what if those conditions they put on it are not biblically based? And so, but then also, what if there's corruption in those people and they start stealing the money? Well, you know what I've just described to you? I've just described everything that happens in America around a welfare system. Sometimes I'll say something like this, I'll get an email, a text or something. It's like, so yeah, you don't believe in helping? No, I believe in welfare. I just believe in it from a biblically based perspective that helps every person. But the problem is this, in that there's always a paradox. There's always a light side and a dark side to everything. Mm-hmm. And we only have control of what our motives are. And when our desires bring other people in, then we have to consider all of these other factors. Well, here's the thing. None of us are smart enough to sort all that out all the time. I mean, there's a lot of them we can sort of, but at the end of the day, our heart has to be open to what God is saying right now to us to do. And, God may say, do this, but then at some point in time, God may say, it's time to stop doing it. What if they're a poor drug addict? Well, yeah, but they're still poor. No. Well, wait a minute. No. Remember, the crooked heart finds no good. A heart that is not in harmony with righteousness, that is not in harmony with the Word of God, that heart will always twist truth to its own destruction and to the destruction of others. And so, we think there's all these simplistic answers, and the real truth is everything is a paradox. All we can do is be true to what our sense of what we're supposed to do with our lives, and how we make our decisions. And the decision I got to make is always based on what we talked about a couple of days ago. If I do this way, will this keep me in harmony with God? And am I ready to take another path the minute I have a sense that, okay, this is done? So whether you're operating faith for a miracle, whether you're operating faith to make decisions, there's always a paradox. There's always a north and south pole. And the only thing that can bring those together is love and righteousness. And love never violates righteousness. And righteousness never acts independent of love.